I learned something new yesterday. I'm always learning, always studying, finding out something new. I found a video on Instagram that explained the origins of the word cis, which is just a Latin prefix that simply means on this side. Cis, gendered, simply means that you are on this side of the gender spectrum as opposed to trans, which means you are on the other side of the gender spectrum. Well, ironically enough, as fate would have it, later on, Elon Musk took to Twitter and said the following, quote, "Repeated targeted harassment against any account will cause the harassing accounts to receive, at minimum, temporary suspicions. The words cis or cisgender are considered slurs on this platform." You heard that right. Using the Latin prefix cis or cisgender is now considered a slur on Twitter. Why, you may ask? Well, because there is an all-out war against the ability of transgender people to simply exist. This is just another detail in that war. It is a detail in the propaganda campaign that is the leading tip of the spear of this war. It is the attempt to make everyone fear and loathe and hate the trans community. And so now they have made up, Elon Musk specifically has declared that cisgender or cis, the Latin prefix, we're banning and canceling Latin prefixes, folks. That's where we are. Now, notice that when he came back to Twitter, the N-word use went up some 500%, but he wants to make sure that we have enough room for free speech for people to do that. And not to mention that he's given power to people to misgender individuals and to dead name them. Anything that these brutish beasts on the other side of this equation, of this argument, can use to harm, to be cruel, to insult someone who is transgender, they will engage in it on Twitter without any ramifications. But if you use the Latin prefix cis as a way to describe a person who is not trans, which are literally just the opposing sides of a Latin prefix, right? They're the opposite sides of the same coin. You're either cis on this side of the gender spectrum or you're trans on the, but that's an insult. We have reached the level of absurdity in this country that, not only in this country, all around the world, that I don't know that we can honestly come back from without some jolt to our system. You know, the anger and hatred has become a hallmark. Don't get me wrong. We do know that anger and hatred and bigotry have long been a hallmark of this country, but we're living in a renaissance. We're living in a time where you can advance your career by how bigoted you can become. You can make more money by how bigoted you can be. You are given the opportunity to get more influence and more power based on how bigoted you can be. It is a renaissance of cruelty. It is a renaissance of white supremacy, and it is a renaissance of bigotry like we haven't seen in our lifetime. The entire point is to control the population through hatred and bigotry. They understand, conservatives know full well that their greatest mobilizing tool on their side of the aisle is hate. They know full well that the best way to get people to the polls on their side of the equation is either through bigotry, hatred, or fear. This is the three tiers of their campaign. This is the three tiers of their entire ideology. This is how they mobilize their groups. And Elon Musk now say, he purchased Twitter for the purposes of free speech, has now waded into the conversation to say, I'm going to use my $44 billion investment to penalize anyone who uses the scientific definition, right? The designation, the Latin prefix cis, that's the slur. But, the N-word, we got to examine that on a case-by-case basis. Oh, you mean, misgendering somebody? That's totally fine. Dead naming somebody, that's totally fine. But to refer to them using the Latin prefix that is a scientific designator of those individuals who are not trans, that's a bridge too far. The absurdity of it all.